We're talking about how to start an LLC in Colorado, and what you can see behind me here is a guided checklist that we're going to walk through, and this is going to explain everything you need to know in getting your LLC set up. And the more important part, though, is we want to learn how to avoid the LLC dumpster fire. Now, I call it that because a lot of times people get their LLC set up and they don't do what you're doing right now, which is doing the research, and they don't realize that there are cracks in their LLC that can cost them tens of thousands of dollars down the line if they're not aware of certain things. So I want to be able to explain some things here to you, such as terms as piercing the corporate veil, registered agents, commingling funds, pass-through taxation, how the LLC renewal process works, and then business licenses and permits. Now, to understand these things and these terms, which you may not be familiar with today, what I want to do is kind of zoom out a little bit and discuss what an LLC actually does for your business. So then we can zoom in on these topics and then talk about how you get your LLC set up. So what we're going to look at here is this item right here. And we're going to be talking about the fact that an LLC offers limited liability protection, and then it also is a pass-through taxation entity. Now, what we're going to talk about is owning a coffee shop. So an example of owning a coffee shop without an LLC. What that looks like is here you have a business owner in the center, and on the left-hand side, you have their personal home, personal car, personal bank account. But on the right-hand side, you have all the coffee shop assets. So the business bank account, the point of sale, the physical location, the espresso machine, the lights. All this is directly connected back to the business owner, which is no good. What this happens in this situation is if somebody were to be hurt at the coffee shop, they could potentially come after all of your assets because you don't have the coffee shop inside of an LLC. Now, what does it look like if you own an LLC that owns the coffee shop? Well, it looks very different. Now we have this red division in the middle, and you have the personal assets with the business owner on the left-hand side and the business assets underneath what we're calling Acme Coffee LLC. That red line in the middle, that is referred to as the corporate veil. Now, you may recall in our checklist here at the beginning, we talked about piercing the corporate veil and also something called commingling funds. We're going to kind of explain these two at the same time right now. Now, when that attorney who, let's say somebody gets hurt at the coffee shop and they go to sue you, what the attorney is going to try to do is find those cracks in your LLC, and if the judge agrees with them, they're going to grant them permission to pierce the corporate veil. What that means is this division between your business and personal assets disappears, and they're able to come after not only your business assets, but your personal assets. Now, an example of a crack in your LLC is something called commingling funds. Now, you can see that we have two bank accounts set up here. Now, let's say that you don't get your business bank account set up right away, and you start to run business transactions through your personal bank account. That is called commingling funds. That creates a crack in your LLC. An attorney suing you can find that out and then present it to the judge. And if they're allowed to pierce the corporate veil, just because you were commingling funds, you could potentially lose that limited liability protection, and they can come after your personal assets as well. So that's why it's so important that you watch this video, but also the future videos in this series, because we're going to be breaking things down like this as we go, because it's not just about getting your LLC set up. But, however, you did come here for that. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about pass-through taxation. I know you're like, I just want to know how to set up my LLC. Trust me, all this stuff is going to help you own your LLC and continue to manage it properly. A lot of people don't understand how taxation works with it. We have Acme Coffee LLC, gross to $140,000, expenses of $90,000, net income of $50,000. The IRS is not taxing the LLC. What it is a pass-through taxation. Sometimes it's called flow-through taxation as well. So it's this $50,000 flows through or passes through to the business owner, and the IRS is taxing the business owner. Just wanted you to be aware of that when it comes to tax time so you can understand how this works. Now, there is a way that you can actually save on taxes through what's called an S-Corp designation, and we're going to be getting to that in a future video in this series, and that happens right around $40,000 to $50,000 in net income. Because again, I want to prepare you for the future as well. I want you to know that I don't want you to overpay 2-3 years out when your business is crushing it, and all these things we're going to get to in this series. Now, checklist to start your LLC. This one's a little bit of self-promotion, but get this checklist for yourself. There's a QR code on the screen right now that you can scan, but there's also a link in the description below. And this is a Notion doc that is a living, breathing document. And one of the cool things is that there's a glossary of terms, that there's extra information in here in case there's anything we might have skipped past that you're confused about, but also the bonuses. So there's an AI chatbot here. This AI chatbot is really neat because you can do something like start an LLC in Colorado. So what the chatbot is doing is filling out a detailed list of everything you need to know about starting your LLC in Colorado. Now, do you want to know about setting up an EIN? That's going to be in here as well, but we're going to talk about that later in this video. There is a yearly accounting calendar, very helpful. We're going to be talking about that in a future video in the series. I believe that's video 3. There's a free charitable opportunity where you can get an extra $20 donation to charity when you're getting your LLC set up. That's in there, free CPA advice and future tax savings. But why don't we get back to the checklist here? And what we're going to do first here is decide which route you should go. This is actually the entire next video. We're going to deep dive on this topic, but basically there's 3 routes. You can go through the state website, the Colorado state website. You can go through online LLC services like legal tools. And then there's also the business attorney that you can go. Now, if you're going to the state website, you can do it as a PDF and mail it in, or you can actually do it online. There's pros and cons for every single one of them. What I'll say for this is, in this video, we're going to go through the state website and going through the PDF route, just so we can kind of highlight a few things. The pros of the state website, there's not a lot of upsells, but the cons are there's not a lot of additional features. They're not going to help you with things on the federal level. They're not going to help you get your business bank account set up, your website, your domain, your email, all of those types of things. Online LLC services will do that for you. And then the business attorney is going to be by far the most expensive because the online LLC services, a lot of them offer a free package plus a state fee. But the business attorney, if you have a complex situation, you have business partners, you have offices in and out of state, that may be examples of why you'd want to spend the extra money talking to a business attorney. But again, we're going to go with the state website route. And the first thing you need to do is decide on your business name for your LLC and then search the availability of that name to see if it's available. What I'll say here is many times people will blow this out of proportion and think they have to have the perfect LLC name. You don't. In the example that we used, we had Acme Coffee LLC, but then what you can have beneath that is called a DBA, a doing business as, or a fictitious name. And what that allows you to do is to have a brand name within that LLC, which could be something like Espresso Yourself Cafe. So when you're getting your LLC set up, the more important thing is that the LLC name is unique within your business category within the state. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the state directory and we're going to look up Colorado on here. And then here is where you can put in different things. Now, so Colorado, you got the Broncos. And then if we put that in here, we're going to do a search here of the business database search. And then what you can see is there are tons of listings here within Colorado for this, and that's kind of obvious that that's going to pop up. But if I just kind of jam out on the keyboard, obviously this is going to be unique and do a search. Then what you're looking at is no results found for the specific name. That is what you're looking for the name that you come up with for your LLC. So once you have a unique name, next we're going to get into forming your LLC. Now, I'm going to click actually 3 of these. Register your LLC name, write your articles of organization, and assign a registered agent. We're going to talk about all of that right now. The difference between registering your LLC and filing the articles of organization. Well, the articles of organization is the actual document that you file with the state that is like, this is the LLC and this is what's going to set up and form your LLC. So what is registering your LLC name? This is kind of like a half step that sometimes you can do. And I liken it to getting a website set up. Like, let's say you don't have the resources or time to develop the website, but you want to own the domain. So you buy the domain. That's kind of what you're doing is you're actually securing the LLC name. And then when you file your articles of organization, that's when you actually form the LLC. So here we have another link that you can click here. And the bullet points here are going to highlight different aspects of the articles of organization, but we're going to dive into that in the video as well. We're going to walk through quickly on the state website here. What it's saying is you just have to include a name such as corporation for an LLC. So why don't we do something like this and then corporation. And then what it's going to do is ask you for your street address, the mailing address. What we're looking at here is an actual example of an LLC that's been formed in the state of Colorado. Now, what you can see here is there's an amount paid of $50. That is currently the state filing fee as of 2024. There's no way of getting around that filing fee. You are paying that if you go directly through the state, online legal tools, or business attorney. But then what you can see is the domestic entity name of the limited liability company, this case Pavilion Records, the principal office address, as you can see that filled out here, the registered agent. Now, sometimes they breeze past this. What I'll say for the registered agent is that there are a few required things here. One is that they must be located in the state of Colorado. 2, it must be a physical mailing address there. And 3, it cannot be a P.O. box. Now, your registered agent, what is it exactly? Well, a registered agent is a third party that handles important documentation and communication for your business. So let's say you are being sued for the coffee shop. The registered agent is going to get the service of process notice. That's basically the notice that's saying you need to show up in court. They're going to make sure that you have your documents in order for when you show up to court. So they end up becoming this buffer of communication for your business. And I highly suggest that you get a professional registered agent. When you go through the state website, they don't really give you any options for that. The online legal tools, they will have professional services that you can use. And actually, one of those tools will provide you your registered agent for free for the first year. But we're going to get into all that in the next video as far as getting into the fees associated. But as we move down here, the true name and mailing address, yep, you can see it's the same. The management and limited liability company is vested in. The members, at least one member. So this is a particular case. We have a one-member LLC being set up. And it's pretty cut and dry. So then once you're done with this, if you were to actually do the PDF version, you can mail this in to the Secretary of State with payment, or if you're doing it online, you can file online and pay online as well. Now, once you file the Articles of Organization, you may want to consider creating and signing an LLC operating agreement. It is not required in the state of Colorado to do this to set up your LLC, but this is one of those situations where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, let's say that you had a business partner in the coffee shop example. You end up having 15 coffee shops. You do really well, but that business partner wants out. How do you handle that situation? If you already have an operating agreement in place, then it may spell out things such as these are the members, these are the roles and responsibilities. If somebody wants to exit the company, this is how that will be handled. And then again, this is one of those situations where doing a little bit of work up front can save you a lot of time and energy down the road. So that may be something you want to consider. The state website is not going to help you out with that. Online legal tools will have like a boilerplate template that you can use. There's also, if you have a very complex situation, maybe you already have offices in and out of state, or you're making more than $50,000 in net income a year, you may want to talk to a business attorney who can also help dial in an operating agreement for you. Next, after LLC formation, set up an EIN. Before we do that, I want to go back a little bit, talking about the $40,000 to $50,000 in net income. I realize you may have questions on that. What that basically is that's the point that you may want to look at an LLC with an S-Corp designation, because you can save on taxes. That's why I'm saying that. And again, this is something that we're going to cover in a future video in this series, but just wanted you to be aware of that. Now, going into EIN, there's an IRS link. An EIN is an employer identification number. It's kind of like a social security number for your business from the IRS so that they can tax you and identify your business. But is it required to set up? No. But if you want to run payroll, because you have people on your payroll, you're going to need an EIN. When you're doing things such as applying for a business loan or an office space or something like that, having an EIN looks more professional than providing your social security number on those applications as well. This is free to set up directly through the IRS. It's also handled for you with those online legal tools for an additional fee, but this link within the document will walk you through exactly how to do that. Next, obtain business licenses and permits for your LLC. This is a huge one because a lot of times what happens is people think they got their LLC set up and they're ready to get into business. Not always the case. There's an SBA resource link here. You can go down, you can scroll down and go down to Colorado, and there's going to be additional information here on the Colorado Secretary of State website that's going to walk you through. But I think the easiest thing here is to explain this through an example. Let's say that you were opening up a brewery, all right? Well, you're brewing beer, you're distributing beer, and you're potentially serving beer at your location. Those are three different things that could require licenses and permits. And those can happen on the federal level, the state level, and the local level. If you're looking at getting this set up, let's say in Denver, you may want to start with the town or city clerk in Denver and call them and say, hey, I'm starting this business. What kind of licenses and permits should I be aware of? Is there anything on the county level or the state level? They can help you out in that way. You can also do Google searches to figure these things out as well. Just simply Google licenses and permits, the specific business category you're in. Because things like a chiropractor, a dentist, a construction company, these are things that may require additional licenses and permits. The online legal tools, many of them will do this research for you for an additional fee. I've seen that range around $95 to $100 typically. But just be aware that that is an additional fee. But if you're worried about that getting set up correctly, those tools can do it for you. Now, in the next video, what we're going to be discussing is largely the different options for LLC formation. We're really going to be deep diving into this, and it's really important because I've seen people overspend by close to $1,500 by picking the wrong option for them. And what we're going to be doing is breaking down what your LLC cost is for the first 5 years of ownership. And that is based on actually what the renewal fees are in your state as well. So below we have a cost calculator that's embedded right in here. We're going to be going over that. We're going to be going over a comparison of the state versus online tools versus attorneys and deep diving there. We're also going to be talking about domestic versus foreign LLCs. This is an important concept to understand. And then the questions worth asking on which route is best to go for you. This is really helpful too, because maybe you're not buying an office space today, but in the future, you're going to be buying rental properties with your business, or you're earning over $40,000, $50,000 in net income. We're going to be deep diving on all these topics. So again, I would highly recommend you to get the free Notion doc here, this LLC checklist in the description below. And I'm going to catch you in this next video to make sure that you're not overpaying when you get your LLC set up. All right, I'll catch you in the next video.